One. Welcome, Green Bay Packers fans, and pretty much, any Chicago Bears fan that wants to make the switch. Episode 7 of This is the Bay. Jack Brennan, already in London, I see. I wish. And me, Timothy Lindsay. It's London week. I still have to watch Ted Lasso to get in the mood for it. I can't wait. We're like the last team that's ever been to London. That true? I believe so. I think we're the 32nd team. But
we're here.
It's a bit of a crime that probably the most popular NFL team ever. But whatever, we're here. That's all that matters. But we're here to basically talk about the last 4 weeks, the first quarter-ish, if you will, of the NFL season for the Packers. I guess I'll just start off. How do you like where we're at? 3-1. How you feeling?
I mean, looking at the schedule just at the start of the season, I think, there was an assumed loss at a minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it didn't come in the blowout fashion that we experienced by the Vikings, but I think we're in a great position. I mean, we're sitting at 3-1. Not a lot of teams are like that. There's only one team that's undefeated. Am I right here?
Yeah, we play them, Philadelphia Eagles, in November. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
At any rate, I mean, I think we need to talk more in detail on gameplay specifically, but just from a pure record standpoint, you really can't ask for much more.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, and even next up, again, we got Giants in London, who we don't really know if they, they're 3-1, but they're the Giants. The New York Jets at home next week, Washington Commanders. So, it kind of sets up nicely here, but through the first 4 weeks.
So hyped for the Jets game, right? I mean, come on.
I want to crush Zach Wilson. That's all I'm thinking about. I just want to crush Zach Wilson. That's all I'm thinking about right now. And, Robert Saleh too, and Mike LaFleur, Matt's brother. I'd like to I'm thinking about that too, but the first 4 games of the season. So, okay, we hit the snag with the Minnesota Vikings. All right, that was
right.
Honestly, we're kind of the week one, the example of not coming out to play, ready to go. The last few seasons. But again, we're playing a division rival. It's a heated game, and we're still trying to figure out how to get these rookie receivers the ball. And it's the first week, first game for a lot of these guys, and we came out flat. Other than that, though, there has been a lot to like from at least, what I've seen. I think you kind of saw the brilliance last game. I'm going to skip the week 2 and week 3 for a second. Last game against New England. Okay, first half wasn't great. Even Aaron, be the first person to tell you he didn't play well. But the second half, I mean, everyone was involved. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon rushed for 200 yards basically combined. Romeo Doubs is coming into his own as a stud. I mean, thinking about the Des Bryant catch. Sorry. Like that was one of the most ridiculous throws Aaron's had, and that's saying something. Like, that was an unbelievable throw. It was very it's like the Geronimo Allison throw he had against the Bears a couple years ago on the, in the comeback after coming off the knee injury. But it was unbelievable, and all he's got to do is squeeze the ball. But he's there, and I love the fact Aaron just keeps going back to him. And Allen had his best game of the season. Randall on third down. That's dude. Like, I think he had 3 catches for 42 yards. That's it's nothing. Well, from a fantasy perspective, it's nothing major. But from a winning games, that's all that matters. He's still the same guy he's always been. And he is Mr. Third Down. He is the longest tenured receiver Aaron has ever played with. No one played 10. I mean, Jordy played 9 before he got hurt, but Randall is that dude, and he's just so clutch. He's awesome. I love him.
He's fast. He's quick. He does not look his age.
Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable, and people were worried. Is Randall? Is he injured? Is he lost a step? And he hasn't. He's been unreal. He's on pace, I think, if my math is correct. I think he has 150 receiving yards so far for the season. I think 600 yards ish, a little over 600, which is great. I mean, that for 32-year-old, that's for a slot receiver, 32 years old. I think that's pretty good. But this offense is balanced. Again, we have a great backfield. I think our offensive line with Dave Bach, I almost said back, but Bach, it was just his 31st birthday. But Ellen Jenkins on the other side, it just feels like we're getting better and better, and we're only 4 weeks in. Now, defensively, I'll leave that to you. I don't know how you feel, how we've played so far. We have the talent, and there have been some great moments. The Tampa Bay game is a clear example of that. I know how you feel about our defense, though, moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, Quay Walker's all over the field. I love it. I think just in linebackers in general, I don't want to keep Campbell out of the conversation. The defensive front, I think, has controlled the line for I mean, look, Tampa was tough. I feel like we put good pressure on the quarterbacks. I've enjoyed it. I don't think we control every down at the line, but I do want to give credit to coming in the clutch on those goal line stands, or there's like third down stands where
big time.
Then these are decent running backs, but they're not letting them get the first down, and it's exciting to see. From a defensive backfield standpoint, I wish Jair was playing more. I mean, it's tough to really test it without him there. And, for as great of plays as Stokes makes, he tends to have at least one where he gets smoked. So, I mean, Stokes came up big time on some third downs this last week.
Yeah.
He stuffed them. We'd have, 7 yards to gain or something in a game. But he played smart. He knew how much they needed. He didn't jump the route. So, he did what he needed to do. And he looks more confident than he did last year. So I'm encouraged with that. Safety plays, good. I just, again, there's certain combinations where there's just been miscommunications, and when they're open, they're wide open.
I sent out, I'm sort of big on Twitter, not really, but I sent out a stat. Let me quickly pull it up. Come on, where are you? Just a couple of points of where here we go. So defensively, we're 5th statistically in total defense. We're 3rd in pass defense. We're 7th in points allowed, and we're tied for 5th in sacks. Now, I believe run defense, we're 22nd. I think we were 18th entering last week, and now we're 22nd. The run defense is the problem. I think that's sort of our Achilles heel, which I hate saying that because we thought we kind of figured that one out last year, or in 2019 was kind of the year where we got exposed with that. And then I thought we kind of fixed it. It's nice that we're winning even despite that struggle. And you thought, we add Devontae Wyatt, we get Jaron Reed, Kenny Clark's a stud. We got a veteran in Dean Lowry. You kind of think Campbell, you kind of think we have the guys to fix that. Luckily this is happening earlier in the year. These problems are, the Bears, I think that game when Montgomery, and the Bears kind of ran at us in the beginning of the second half in week 2. I think in our minds, we're like, okay, well, we're kind of playing the Bears. We're winning. It's not like, they can come back just running the football, you know what I'm saying? Because when you're down, a lot of teams love to pass, and that's how you get back into the game quicker. I think in our minds, it was like, okay, well, they can run the ball. It's fine. We'll give up a few yards, but Justin Fields can't throw. I think he completed 7 passes that game in week 2, which is a record low by us, I think, or something. But when we play San Francisco in the postseason this year, will we have fixed that problem? That's kind of the question. And New England, what scared me about going back to the New England game, they're playing Brian Hoyer and then Bailey Zappi. They're going to run the ball. That's how they stay in the game. That's how they get, that's how they set up some of the passes. And they proceed to run for 167 yards. When even I know they're going to do that, from, me in my basement watching the game, when I know they're going to do it and we can't stop, it bothers me. And there have been some moments this year, frustration, like the Minnesota game. It's like, why the hell are there coverage breakdowns? You know, but for the most part, I think again the Tampa game was great. I don't really, pardon my language, I don't really give a shit who was playing a receiver for Tampa. You still got to go out and play, and you have Tom Brady over there, and the Packers played very well defensively that game. Held Leonard Fournette to 35 rushing yards, so they're capable of like holding good backs to low numbers on the ground. They just have to play more consistently because again, you see Minnesota coverage breakdowns. You see in Chicago, New England, the run game, the run defense isn't really playing that well. I will say no Jair Alexander and also no Adrian Amos for the Patriots game. I think Amos, his role coming up to the line and, stuffing it, I think that's sort of underrated. And I think people kind of forget about that.
But at the same time, you look at a team like the Lions, and I know that they've got a new dude that was like the 6th round linebacker.
Rodrigo.
He's making plays, man. But what I learned in watching some of the Hard Knock stuff was how much that Lions defensive line controls the line and makes it easy for those linebackers to get in there. So, yeah, I mean, you bring up a solid point that Amos may fill some of the gaps, but he shouldn't have to be. So
yeah.
I guess I don't know enough I have not rewatched film on any of it, but if you focused on the line, I'd be curious what it is specifically, because we've got some monsters on the defensive line. So it could, knowing the talent that we have there, it may just be something that's coaching and is fixable within a season.
All I know is I think we're gonna get better. We're gonna get better. You know who's only going to get better too, though, is Rashan Gary. My gosh, that dude, he's second in the league in sacks. He is every single season, he has increased his numbers in sacks, tackles, pressures, knockdowns, pressure rate, whatever it is. He's increased his numbers every single year. And this year, 5 sacks through 4 games. He's on pace for 20 sacks. I'm not sure if he's going to do it. But he's been unreal, and he, kept us in the. If it wasn't for his performance in the first half, New England would have been up a couple, possessions. I think I really believe that. He saved us, and he's an absolute stud. Preston solid on the other side. So I love that he's coming into his own, and it's proof. A lot of people. It was the 2019 NFL draft. A lot of people were skeptical of the pick when we took him, I think 12th overall, because, he didn't really have great college numbers. And then I've been saying, it was a potential pick. They draft him for his potential a couple years down the road because they had Zadarius, they had Preston. Right. Now look where he is right now. I mean, just an absolute stud. And I think that's the same thing with Devontae Wyatt on the interior. People are wondering, why isn't he playing enough right now? Potential pick. It's a potential pick. Kenny Clark is right there. He can learn from him. Dean Lowry, Jaron Reed, even a guy like that. Like, he can learn from those veterans and those guys, and eventually he'll be an absolute stud. So while we're finding our way defensively, we have the talent, we have the pieces for sure. We also have younger pieces that are going to continue to grow and learn. The Devontae Wyatts are going to learn behind the Kenny Clarks. The Eric Stokes are going to continue to learn from the Jairs and the Rasul Douglases, Quay Walker learning from Devondre, that kind of thing. So I think we have a great mix of experience and youth. And I'm really fired up for that.
And I don't want to expand on it too much for the sake of time, but we cannot end this part of the segment without addressing this. I could not be more proud of the special teams. That's all I need to say. That's all I need to be said. But
part of that tweet I sent out with statistics of defense and offense. I didn't have any stats. I just said the special teams is just playing out of its mind because it's just what they are. And by out of its mind, I mean very well, which is out of its mind for Green Bay Packers fans. Because I mean, I would say honestly, probably New England game was the worst game of the season. Like, I think the last punt in overtime, or the first punt in overtime, I think there was a penalty too, but they gave up a lot of field position, and New England got the ball to 50-yard line. So all they had to do was get 12 yards and they would have won the game. But luckily the defense held serve. But we had a couple coverage errors and mistakes. I think there was a block in the back, I think, at one point. But for the most part, we've been playing very well. O'Donnell is such a great punter. Pinning, I mean, I thought originally that the pin job that O'Donnell did to, get New England inside the 5-yard line at the 1-yard line, where I think Rudy Ford got down there and caught it and pinned New England down there. When was the last time the Packers did something like that? They did it in Tampa too. Consecutive games they've done that where they pinned them inside the 5. It's like that has not happened for a long time in Green Bay, and it's awesome stuff. So that's great to see that unit getting better and better, because the offense is only going to get better. The special teams, it's not like all of a sudden they're just going to implode. Obviously they'll make mistakes once in a while, but with Bisaccia, I think calling the shots on that, they're going to be, straight as an arrow. And defensively, I think defensively, I think we're going to, defensively, I guess it's interesting because, it depends who we're playing, but we have the talent on that side too. So we have the pieces that's, you just got to go out there and
speaking of
different.
Depends who we're playing. What do you think of the schedule coming?
So moving forward, you have obviously New York Giants, who, although they're 3-1, I believe they might be playing Davis Webb at quarterback, backup quarterback out of Cal, coincidentally. So maybe him and Aaron can.
Daniel Jones isn't going to play.
Him and Tyrod Taylor both left the game against the Bears on Sunday. So there's a chance that Davis Webb might be playing. So him and Aaron, I'm sure, will exchange a couple laughs after the game, maybe, or pregame, because they're both Cal guys. But again, the Giants. Oh, and Sterling Shepard tore his ACL, unfortunately. I hope he has a speedy recovery for sure. But just like the fact that he won't be there, that's kind of an important loss, I think, for the Giants. So the Packers, should be able to hold serve on the boundary. But we don't really know who the Giants are yet. They're 3-1. They lost to the Cowboys, who I don't really know. Hard to say who the Cowboys are, because they just kind of, hoop their pants in the end of the season. So that's whatever. After the Cowboys, or after the Giants, excuse me, we have New York Jets at home, a noon game. That's going to be interesting, because coming back from London, you have the jet lag, and you're kind of tired. You got to see how your body responds the following week. Mm-hmm. They're a better franchise than the New York Jets. It's obvious. They played each other last preseason. Actually, the Jets came out for joint practices. So both, and Robert Saleh, who was the best man at LaFleur's wedding, Mike LaFleur, Matt's brother, they all know each other. So that's going to be interesting. Packers, again, that's a very, very winnable game, though. And then after that, before the big Bills game, midway through the season, we have the Washington Commanders, which could be a trap game. It really could be, because I think, got the Bills looming, and that could be a Super Bowl preview. For some reason, we struggle in Washington. I don't know if you remember any of the games very well. We won that wild card game in Washington in 2015 before the Rodgers Hail Mary game in Arizona. Mm-hmm. But after that, I mean, during the Super Bowl season 2010, I remember we ended up losing 16-13 or something out there off a game-winning field goal. I think Kirk Cousins put up 44 points in the regular season against us before that playoff game. And then 2018, the year we played him before Mike got fired later in the year. Alex Smith ripped us apart, and it was actually another Clay Matthews roughing the passer game. With all that said, it could be for some reason, we don't always play well in Washington. I don't know why. I think Washington is a very mediocre franchise, and for some reason, we always play down to their level of competition. So we got to be careful. But those are 3 very winnable games. And if we can, end up on the winning side of all those, man, we're sitting at 6-1 going to Buffalo. You ask any Packers fan looking at the schedule, you go into Minnesota, which, we don't like the Vikings, but they're always tough to play there. Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Going to London, you never know. To come out with 1 loss, that's a pretty huge thing. And with new receivers, yeah.
And 5-2, I could see that, and I'd be
Mhm.
fine with that. It's not my ideal, but again, the thing I'd say about the Giants, I'm a little disappointed Daniel Jones isn't going to play, mainly because I
We
think
don't know for sure.
his running ability is strong,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's good. You know, not to think ahead, but I think playing against that is a good precursor for playing against Josh Allen, and it'd be good for our defense to see somebody like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Plus a
yeah,
starter.
yeah.
Like we saw Hoyer then Zappy last week, and no, I'm totally with you there. But yeah, it's gonna be like it's gonna be a test because I think they're one of the teams we don't know much about. They're 3-1, yeah, but have they really changed? I mean, they kind of they didn't squeak one out, but they played the Bears, who were the Bears, and they managed to beat them 20-12, and I think the Bears muffed a punt at the end or something. But I don't really know much. I don't think the Giants have totally changed. Um, but it's gonna be a heck of a test. Going across the pond, going to see a bunch of crazy British Packer fans and whoever else. I think it's gonna be awesome because again, I'm kind of surprised it took us this long. But regardless, I'm not gonna go into that now. We're there, and that's all that matters.
And
Um, but
Aaron's
yeah,
right.
again,
That's what
mhm. I
and
do want to ask you, Nicholas. Oh, okay. Honestly, now that I look at Aaron over your left shoulder, I'm kind of thinking about um, Book of Secrets, the second national treasure, when they walk out of Buckingham Palace with the plank, and they end up in that chase in London, and he like throws the plank into the river or whatever, and the guy dives off the bridge going to get it. It's just the classic Nick Cage film, I guess.
you were
Series and
gonna
so
ask me.
parents, huh?
You were gonna ask me.
Oh yeah. How great of an actor do you think Nicolas Cage really is? No. Just how do you think Aaron has played this year? Like what I mean, what do you think of him?
I mean, he's smiling. He's still happy. I mean, I've gotten over the Aaron's never going to be the guy that runs over and tries to collaborate on how we could have run that play better. He's an expectations guy because they've prepared. They knew what they were supposed to do, and he's not going to waste his energy to go over there and do it.
Yeah.
It's two different styles. Mine's
Mhm.
different. Um, you know, I so I think he's played well. I think that some of those throws, I mean, some of the picks really drive me nuts because
Mhm.
it's a miscommunication on what route was going on. I mean, some of the drops, like the touchdown to Dobbs last week, that was a touchdown. I mean,
Mhm.
Dobbs has great hands, and he just didn't keep it um,
Yeah.
through the
Process.
catch.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think that it's been a challenge. I think there's been growing pains, but we've seen seasons like this in the past where our lead receiver goes out. It could be Jordy Nelson, it could be Devontae Adams, you name it. And we've been depleted, and we've been playing with guys that people would question, are they even in fantasy football on the ESPN app? I've never
Mhm.
heard of them.
Mhm.
And, I'm encouraged that he's progressively over his career gotten better at playing with these guys. And he wouldn't have 3-1 record, if it was 6 years ago with
Yeah.
Nelson.
I agree.
I mean, we lost so much with that, and the distribution of the ball is excellent to see. The only thing I would like to see more utilization of is those tight ends, man.
Big
Big
Bob.
Bob came in and he got the touchdown.
Huge.
But Big Dog. I mean, the whole gambit. DeGuara.
Yeah.
I think there's a bigger role for them to play, so we
Mm.
don't have to be in so many third down situations. Which,
Mm.
fortunately, we were able to convert on a lot of the times. But it seems to me the fact that some of our running plays just go for nothing. There's too much predictability in the way that we're running our offense. So
Yeah.
got studs in that position, and we've drafted it deep.
Mm. I think that not that they're doing this on purpose, but well, maybe they are. Big Dog hasn't gotten a lot of looks. He hasn't, but I think they're kind of setting him up for later in the year. A lot. They use him a lot in the play action game. He had a big part in Baltimore last year. He had a couple great catches in that game, and we've seen him at goal line make some touchdown catches. I think they're definitely going to be setting that up though as the season moves on. Just you know, maybe it's a simple 2nd and 8 on their own 32. Aaron kind of rolls out, little play action waggle back from my Madden days, trying to think of the play. But no, I think they're just kind of setting him up. Jaguara, with Big Bob back, he hasn't gotten as much playing time, but all those guys are capable. Tyler Davis had not the best preseason, but I think he's capable. Jaguara stepped up last year. If made a couple nice plays. So I like that position group, and I think we need to, you're right, involve them a little bit more. But yeah, I think Aaron, just seeing him in the second half, man, he was 17 of 24, if I have this note correctly, 17 of 24 for 207 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just adjustments. That's the biggest weapon for every sports team, even every golfer, whatever. You get a moment, halftime, in between rounds of the course, whatever it is, take a timeout. What did I do wrong? What have we worked on in practice? What type of defensive alignment can I switch to? That kind of thing. That's huge at halftime or at the end of the quarter, whatever, talking about it, having a conversation. I just think that's, I think it's massive. So I think if we continue to use that to our advantage, we're going to be okay. Aaron came out with his hair maybe not his hair on fire, but the 2 key plays he talked about on Pat's show today, on the Pat McAfee show, Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, Aaron Rodgers book club, check it out. The one play, 3rd and 10 to start the half, they had 2 bad plays. And so if they don't get the first down, Patriots kind of start to have that grip be a little tighter. He finds Lazard down the sideline. Allen makes a great diving play. That gets it going. And then that third down, I believe they were down by 7 driving. Aaron finds Randall Cobb on a sail route, which means you kind of go in, then you go out towards the sideline. Aaron finds Randall on the big 3rd and 8 conversion, sick throw, just an absolute dime. He's still got it. He's never lost it. And these young receivers are coming along. Christian Watson, had his first rushing touchdown. Like, they're integrating every single person, every single player on the offense into it. And I think that's what's exciting. And also important to note, like, with Romeo Dobbs' drop or with his fumble or with Aaron's pick 6 that he's probably never going to throw again in his career. He's thrown 4. Baker Mayfield's thrown 4 in his career. Kyler Murray has thrown 5 in his career. Peyton Manning has thrown 27 or 32, 27. Tom Brady's thrown 19. Aaron Rodgers has thrown 4 pick 6s in his career. It's ridiculous. I always think back to that New Orleans Saints pick 6 or close to it where he laid that one guy out on Monday Night Football. Point is, dude is a master, and he was a surgeon in the second half. So I'm not worried about him one bit. We're in a really great spot. We're 3-1. We're only, I think, going to get better. And we have an opportunity here to stack some wins now. That's important. Stack wins, because the second half of the season, we're going to play the Philadelphias. All right, we're going to play Minnesota once again. Why am I blanking? Buffalo, to start off the second half, sort of. We're going to play some tougher teams. Heck, we're going to go to Detroit. I know we should beat Detroit, but for some reason we struggle in Detroit, and it seems like Detroit is a little better offensively. So I'm just saying, right now we can stack some wins, and that'll set us up for the second half of the season. I love this team. I think, again, I don't know, I'm kind of speechless. I was going to say something else, and I kind of forgot. But
well, thank God, because we are dragging on.
Yep. Go Pack, go all the way.
We have to get to your last question because it was too good not to bring it up.
Yep.
So, the second I read it, I knew my moment. But what's your favorite Clay Matthews moment?
The "it is time" moment from Kevin Green, the late great Kevin Green, who was the outside linebackers coach, I believe, in Green Bay for a while under Dom Capers. In the Super Bowl against the Steelers, he told Clay, Steelers were driving. I think they were about to tie the game or possibly take the lead. And he said, Clay, it's time. It is time. Next play, Clay Matthews breaks through, hits Rashard Mendenhall. Ball comes out. Desmond Bishop recovers. Packers go on to win the Super Bowl. And And there's so many great moments, dude. I mean, he was awesome. But yeah, that's my favorite moment.
All right. That was up there for me as well.
Mm.
The game, his rookie year, a game of legends. This goes off into the big bear paws of Brett Favre in a Vikings uniform.
Oh
He
my
hands it off to
gosh.
Adrian Peterson.
Oh.
And the next thing you know is all you see is Flo going the opposite way with the ball. And he strip sixed Adrian Peterson.
Oh, I remember that game. And then he chucks it. He chucks it like 30 rows up into the stands. I remember that though. Like AJ Hawk had him wrapped up, and then Clay like kind of comes in. Peterson doesn't see him, strips it, and yeah, I love that guy. That dude, 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, all-time leading sacker for our team. Obviously he's a Packer Hall of Famer, but I also think he should be in Canton. Him and his dad, I believe, have the most sacks for a father-son duo in NFL history. So that guy's a legend. And I think Aaron talked about how he and Bakhtiari and Clay would have their own like workout group in California during the off seasons, and Clay would kind of when he'd be there, he'd be like, oh, life is so great. He'd be all cheery, and they'd prank each other, and it'd be all great. But when he got back to Green Bay, it was like, it's time, like that kind of thing. Like he would just be, in the zone. So I love that dude. Legendary. This is the Bay.
This is the Bay.
On to London town.